Okay, we should be streaming live now. Let's check the screen share. There it goes. Good. Something happened with the size of this. Oh, there it is. I see. Okay. Okay. Let's warm up in our usual way, which is with Hashki Venu, but our modified new version of this, which is to play it in 3 different keys. Okay. Here we go. All right, there's room. I can do this. Okay. So 2, 3, 4. Down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Linda and Mom, if you don't mind tilting your screen down so I can see your ukuleles rather than your faces. I said Linda, I meant actually Ray. Linda, I can see yours, but that helps too. Here we go. C, now G, G, A minor, and F. C, G, A minor, and F. C, G, A minor, and F. Last time. C, keep going. G, A minor, and F. And end back on C. Hello, Elisa. We never know who's joining. It always says Amy Gage is joining, and it could be anyone. It's really...
Oh, how exciting.
Okay.
Happy to be here.
Glad to have you here. It was fun the other day at Amy's, by the way. All playing in person. Yeah. Okay, we're going to do the same thing, except through the key of G. Right? So instead, it is G, then D, then E minor, and C. G, then D, E minor, and C. Okay. Let's try this. And just as a reminder, if one of these is particularly tough to you, let's say the D is particularly tough, which wouldn't be a surprise of these chords if D is the tough one or E minor, those are the two. What you want to do is you want to move back and forth and practice the move that is tough. So if it's G to D that's tough, practice going G to D to G to D, and just back and forth and back and forth. And if when you go to play that D, it doesn't quite sound right, like let's say you get that kind of sound, stop, fix it, play it right, and then go back to G. So you want to have a good strum on each one. And you'll notice when I'm doing that, when I'm really just workshopping these chords and trying to make sure that I can do them, it's called an arpeggio, which just means that I'm playing each note separately, so that I can make sure that each of the strings is ringing out nicely. And then once you can do that, then you practice going from D to E minor, D to E minor, D to E minor, until that becomes a really comfortable thing.
How do you get your 3 fingers to work for D? I can't do it.
So if you have, first of all, the one thing to do with your 3 fingers is sort of twist your wrist that way a little bit so that they can be on top of each other rather than next to each other. Does that make sense? That's one trick. I'm twisting my wrist outwards. But the other thing that you can do if that's tough is take a single finger and use it to go across 3. The trick is, though, to make sure you're going across 3 and not hitting the 4th. And if you're doing it that way, you definitely want your thumb behind to provide a counterbalance. So those are the two things. Either try twisting your wrist a little bit so that the fingers, instead of being sort of next to each other and trying to fit them in that 2nd fret, they get a little more vertical on top of each other. They'll still be next to each other some, but see how vertical that's getting there? And it's because I'm twisting my wrist outwards. It's the opposite direction of the wrist twist that you do for a B flat. Right? For a B flat, you sort of twist it up and in. For the D, you twist it over and out. Did that help? Good. Okay, let's try this. Here we go now. 2, 3, 4. G. Now D. E minor. And C. G. D. E minor. And C. One more time. Probably a few more times. G. D. E minor. And C. G. D. E minor. C. Last time. Here we go. G. D. E minor. And C. We're going to end on a G. And Elisa, if you don't mind tilting your screen down, if that's easy enough to do, so I can see your ukulele. Not that you don't have a lovely masked face, but yes, Elvis. Sorry, the puppy is whining over here. If you hear that.
I'm in our office's Zoom room, and it's very short distance-wise, so you're going to get mask and uke.
Great.
But it's me.
Great. Okay, how did that feel? How did this key feel to us? A little more difficult than C, but okay-ish? Kathleen, that is a solid, 1 or 2 clock degrees higher than last week. I'm going to take that as a positive. Yeah. Is D still the one that's tough for us, or is it E minor?
I think it's largely the switch, but moving the elbow out is very helpful.
Yeah. Really, what I would say is, if it's helpful to think of it consciously, think of it consciously. But really, let the sort of hand guide the elbow, right? When you need to move your hand that way, let the elbow fly around with it. Yeah, that elbow should be really moving in and out.
I'm happy to report that trying to play a couple of those sus chords, I can really hear what it does.
I saw you playing those. I saw you playing it with that E minor.
Yeah, and I did it with the D. It's very pretty.
Nice. Okay, we'll play it in our 3rd key now, in the key of F. So here we go. 2, 3, 4, and F. Then C. D minor. B flat. F. C. D minor. B flat. F. C. D minor. B flat. 2 more times. F. C. D minor. B flat. Last time. F. Now C. D minor. B flat. And end on an F. Okay, how'd that key feel for us? Okay-ish? It's the B flat that's the toughest there. Just a reminder, if you're having trouble getting to that D minor, sometimes it can be tough to get to. It's just an F with the ring finger dropped down. And thinking of it conceptually like that works. And you can even sort of go from F to C. Now listen, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to play an F and then drop it in. right? So I started with an F and then I put that finger down, and it sounds totally fine. So, if it's easier to root yourself with the F and then drop that ring finger down, go for it. Let's play this one more time, actually, in this key. 2, 3, 4, and F, and C, D minor, B flat, now F, and C, D minor, B flat, and on the F. Okay.
Rabbi Daniel,
Yeah.
I just wondered if sometime you could just put those sus chords underneath that one too, so we could just see them.
The sus chords.
Like the C.
Got it. Yep, absolutely.
That'd be nice.
We can do that. Linda, it might also be helpful for you if you Google, I'm sure I can even pull this up right now for us. Ukulele sus chords.
Just get a whole chart.
You can pull up a chart. Let's see, where's a good one? That one doesn't have fingerings on it.
I'll find it.
Yeah, there's all sorts of them out there that you can
Find it.
just grab and print, and here you go. This is a nice looking one. Right, so here, let me just make myself go away for a second so I'm not blocking everything. Okay, so if you look at this chart right here, you really get all the variations. You get, so let's do C, for instance. Here's C. You don't need C minor. You don't need C augmented. You don't need C diminished. None of those are chords we use. C6 you're probably not going to use. C minor, 6, C7. This doesn't even have the chords we want, does it? Doesn't have the suspensions on it. Nope. It's got all sorts of complicated chords that aren't the chords we want.
I'll find it. I'll find it and send it to you.
Oh, great. Okay, let's keep going with our vamping. Let me just move. Nope. I guess I can do it like that. Okay, so we're playing this vamp in two different keys. We're playing it in the key of C and in the key of G. So just a reminder, a vamp is just, something that you can play over and over again for fun is the idea. And is a sort of core chord progression. In the same way that the 1-4-5 is the blues vamp, the 2-7-5-7-1 is the sort of classic Hawaiian ukulele vamp. So in the key of C, right? So if it's 2-5-1, it means our 1 is coming at the end, meaning the key that we're actually playing in is the last chord here rather than the first chord. We're used to it being the first chord. A little different here. Let me check Karen's COVID test. She is negative. So we're going to go from the 2. So in the key of C, that's the D, right? C is the 1, D is the 2. E, F, G is the 5. So we're going from the 2-7 to the 5-7 to the 1. Another reminder, I know we've talked about this, 7th chords. So we have our, let's see, we've got our major chords. Here's a D major. And just talking through these sort of emotionally, a major chord is happy. A minor chord, here's our D minor, is sad. And a 7th chord is bluesy. So we've got a 2-7, a 5-7, and a 1. That 2-7 is not what we would normally expect in a chord chart, but we don't need to go into the music theory of that. Okay, let's try this. 2, 3, 4, a D, G, and C. D7, G7, and C. double time. 2, 3, 4, D7, G7, C. D7, G7, C. D7, G7, and C. D7, G7, and C. Tougher when we go faster. Is that what I'm seeing from people? Yes. So just to note, if things start getting too fast for you, lose the strum and just get the chord. D7, G7, C. D7, G7, C. D7, G7, C. It could still be too fast, but you know. Another note on your positioning. Go ahead and play your D7. Play it with your second and your third finger for a second. Like that. So if you play your D7 like this, what's nice is that when you switch to the G7, all you're doing is you're moving those two fingers down a string and dropping that index finger in behind them. Right? D7 to G7. D7 to G7. And you see how simple that becomes when you're doing that kind of fingering? Much more difficult when you're doing this G7, or this D7, excuse me, D7, G7, right? That's a much tougher move than just going down a string and dropping in the finger.
Rabbi Daniel, I'm not 100% sure of your strum for your veil.
What is my strum? Let's see. You're talking about on the faster one, Linda?
Yes.
So in the faster one, I'm going D7.
Simple.
Yeah.
Super simple.
I'm going down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. But don't worry about doing that strum. Don't focus too much unless that comes easily or that's the spot that is easy right now, or that you're working on right now. Okay, let's play these again. 2, 3, 4, D7, G7, and C. D7, G7, and C. D7, G7, and C. Last time, D7, G7, and C. And if you want to make it kind of bluesy at the end or jazzy or whatever it is, you end on a C7 rather than a C. Okay, how did that feel for us? Okay? Thumbs up, middle down? Thumbs up? Okay. Let's try the same thing in the key of G. I'm going to start by playing Hashki Venu for us in the key of G just for a second to get our ear reconfigured. Otherwise, it doesn't sound right. Okay, now hopefully our ears have found a new home base of that G. So we're going to go from A7 to D7 to G. A7, D7 to G. A7, D7 to G. A7, D7 to G. And if it sounded different, I was switching up between which of the two D7 formations I was using. And if you're finding it easy to play these chords, that's something to do to add in another skill here, is to switch back and forth between those D7s. Okay, let's do this. 2, 3, 4, A7, D7, and G. A7, D7, and G. A7, D7, and G. Couple more times. A7, D7, and G. Last time. D7, and G. Feel okay?
I think I need another G tutorial at some point. I insist it's because my fingers are the wrong lengths. You know, do your fingers look like that? I just really have a hard time because my middle one is so much longer. No, yours are too. I can't even.
You can't use that excuse. Yeah, sorry.
No. Darn.
Here, I could pretend a little bit if it'll make you feel better. It's really, yeah.
Cut your fingernails all off. Cut them right off to the quick, and it'll make it much easier.
I did it this morning.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, let me, Elisa, will you tilt down a little bit so that I can see your fingering on the G, or raise your ukulele or whatever it is. Yep. I see what you're doing wrong. Yeah, great. Easy fix. Index finger goes on top. Second finger goes beneath it. Middle finger goes between them.
I try that sometimes.
Okay, and send your elbow out and put your thumb over the top. Rather than to the side, put your thumb over the top. Yeah, there you go. That sounded pretty good.
Okay.
Really, with the G, focus in as much as you can on those fingers coming into the string or coming into the fretboard, really, as close to perpendicular as you can. So that it's really coming in as close to straight as you can, so that you get those really clear, I mean, you know you're doing it right when you get those really clear, like, indentations in your fingers right on the tips.
I don't know. That's what I've got.
Yeah, so if you look at it, you can see that mine are a little more on the tips and yours are just a little closer to the ball of the finger. So try to get really in the tips if you can. Yeah, it gets easier the more you play. Your fingertips will eventually like permanently flatten. I don't know if you can see it on here, but my left-hand fingers are just flat, and my right-hand fingers have a nice curve to them. Okay. Let's go on. Okay, should we play some blues? Keep going through our warm-ups. Nope, that's not what I wanted to move.
I love these generic warm-ups that cover a lot of bases.
That, you know, I'm really happy with these ones that we've developed, actually, for exactly that reason, Linda, because you get all of these, you know, you can, if you're able to go through each of these three warm-ups, the Hashki Venu in 3 keys, the Hawaiian Vamp in 2 keys, and blues in 3 keys, you've got a huge number of chords in your repertoire at that point, as well as shifting between different sets of chords, right? Like you get to the point where you can go from the G to the C, but then when you need to go from the G to the D, it's a whole new challenge. And yeah, these warm-ups do a nice job, I think. Not to mention that
I wanted to mention Havdalah.
we are going to do Havdalah. That's what we're making our way towards.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. So we're playing in the key of G here. So that's a G, 7, a C7, and a D7. I actually think the G7 is easier to play than the G, personally. G7. Just as a reminder, this is what your G7 looks like, right? Where you play that D7, you move it down a string, and you drop that index finger in behind it, between them. Your C7 and your D7. So if you're at the point where this is getting easy, when you're playing in particular, when you come to that D7, feel free to switch back and forth between the two shapes. Right, so those were just the two D7s that I was playing and ended on a G7 there. No need to do that if that's not where you are at. And you can always play the regular chord rather than the 7th chord. If there's a seventh chord driving you nuts, just play the regular chord. If the G7's driving you nuts, just play a G. Good to develop the seventh as you go, but okay, here we go now. 2, 3, 4, G7, C7, G7, C7, G7, now D7, C7, G7. Turn it around with the D7 and back to the top. G7, C7, G7, C7, G7, D7, C7, G7. Turn it around with D7, G7 from the top, C7, G7, C7, G7. Here comes the D7, D7, C7, G7. Turn around with D7 and end on that G7. How'd that feel?
Good.
Just a note, we're totally skipping playing blues in the key of C these days. We're really only playing the blues in the other keys that we're less familiar with. Okay. Now in the key of F. Okay, that F7. I find it the easiest. Oh, excuse me. I didn't have coffee today. Play an F. And then take your middle finger. No, sorry. Play an F. And then take your ring finger and put it down afterwards. And one of the things about a seventh chord is, so a regular chord, to do a little bit of music theory here, a regular major chord is the 1, the 3, and the 5. All that you're doing with the seventh chord is you're adding in that seventh note. So there are 4 notes rather than 3 notes. And what that means is that you can leave off the seventh chord and add it in, and it doesn't sound bad at all. Because these 3 notes are already always there. You're just adding it or not adding it. So for things that you're having trouble with, or even if you just want to have that sound, you can start with the F and then put the finger down to add in the 7. You can even just practice that. Let's practice that for a second. F, F7, F, F7, F, F7, F, F7, right? And when I'm playing the 7th, all I'm doing is dropping down my ring finger. F7, F, F7, F, F7. Okay, good. Let's try playing the blues. Okay, next chord, B flat 7. This is a tough one, if only that it is a totally different shape than anything we've played. Throw that thumb behind the neck to provide some counterbalance. Take that index finger and lay it all the way across those 4 strings. I have the tip of my index finger, I have more than the tip, right? I have a significant chunk of that index finger sort of hanging off the top there too, because that's where I can push it down nice and cleanly. It's not even that clean. You heard all that buzzing. Right, like, so now I'm getting it better when I'm really playing it, when I'm doing it below below that first knuckle. I'm starting there and playing, and found it easier. And then you just drop in that middle finger. Just as a reminder, I know we talked about this before, but this is just what's called a bar chord. And a bar chord is a chord that you can move up and down the neck to change what note it is, or what chord it is. So this is our A7 shape, right? Where all the other strings are open. We slide that up, and then we bar the strings behind it to create a B flat 7, B7, and then here's a C7. So if you take that same B flat 7 chord and instead you put your index finger across that 3rd fret and play it. Go ahead and play that. Try playing it. You'll notice that's the same chord. Sounds a little different as a C7.
Daniel, you're blowing my mind right now. Is this the same as that, like that thing that you clamp on across all the strings?
Yes.
Except you're just for one note.
Yes, Elisa, that's perfect. Yes, that's a perfect observation. The thing that you clamp on is called a capo. Actually, Ray has one, right? And capo's the exact same logic as using your finger. And that's essentially what you're doing here is you're using your finger as a capo, right? And you can do that with all of these chords, right? So here's an F chord, right? I'm not playing it with my regular fingers. I'm using my 2nd and my 3rd fingers, but that's an F chord, right? So we slide it up 2 frets, put our finger down, and that's a G chord. Hear how those are the same, right? I mean, they sound different because the strings are in different order and it's a little higher up and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, exactly.
Hi, Daniel.
Yeah, Linda.
Just hard to, like, I get what I'm supposed to do, but then if I play each note individually,
Yep.
it's hard to get that.
Try, at least for me, I found it easier to really lift that index finger up. So I'm using so much more of the, right, like the lower part of my finger rather than the tip. I'm not using the tip at all. I'm starting at that knuckle and going down. Also, the other thing is I'm not using the flat of the finger. I'm really sort of turning it a little bit and using that edge that's closest to the thumb. I mean, not a radical turn. I don't know how well you can see. Yeah, you can sort of see there, right, that my finger is not straight on, right? This would be straight on. And instead, I'm just kind of tilting it to the side a little. All of which is to say that I don't have any real answer for you, Linda, that it's really just going to be experimenting with your own hands and your own physiology and figuring out what you need to do to make that sound right. Yeah.
I've only been trying for 5 years to play an F on a guitar, but I'm sure it's around the corner.
Exactly. Bar chords are like that. Bar chords are like that. Hand exercises. Get one of those, like the grippy things. Build up some strength. Actually, playing ukulele is probably pretty good for building up the strength in your hand. Okay. Let's try this out. So we've got our F7. We've got our B flat 7. The other thing you can do if you're having trouble getting all those notes to ring nicely on the B flat 7 is focus on pushing back at it with that thumb. Push that thumb in. Really use that counter pressure back there as the force. And then we got our C7. And back to the F7. Okay, let's try this. 2, 3, 4, F7, B flat 7, F7, B flat 7, F7, C7. You get a nice little break with that C7, B flat 7, F7. Turn it around with the C7 from the top, F7, B flat 7, F7, B flat 7, F7, C7, B flat 7, F7. Turn it around with a C7, F7, B flat 7, F7, B flat 7, F7, C7, B flat 7, F7, C7, end on an F7. Here we go. Okay, how was that? Show of thumbs. Down, middle. That one's a little tougher, that key, right? Yep.
Hard but good.
Good. Okay. And I think this is the last. Yep, the last of our blues. Now we're in the key of A. A7. D7. And E7. So once again, with that D7 to the E7, you're going to take the D7, you're going to move it down a string. Right, those two fingers stay the same. They just move down a string, the second and the third finger. Okay. Let's try it. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, A7, D7, A7, D7, A7, E7, D7, A7. Turn it around with that E7. A7. D7. A7. D7. A7. E7. D7. Back to A7, turn it around with E7. From the top last time, A7, D7, A7, D7, A7, E7, D7, A7, turn it around with the E7, and end on that A7. Okay, how did that key feel? Show of thumbs. Okay, so A7 a lot easier than key of F. It's that B flat 7 that's really, really tough there. But a good exercise because of that. Okay, let's do Havdalah, which is what we're doing on Saturday night. Just a reminder of timing. We are going to meet there at CRC around around 6 o'clock. I'll be there earlier than that, certainly. And we'll be there through... Oh, no, I was trying to move this all over and it's not working, so I'm going to skip that. And we will go live at about 6:30 with Havdalah. After Havdalah, we will just have a jam session like we did last time. So bring songs that you want to play, just the names of it. We'll put them up on the screen and things like that. Oh, excuse me. I know, it's bad to yawn. Yeah. Who would have thought yawns are contagious on Zoom, and yet there they are. Okay.
But hopefully that's the only thing.
Yes, hopefully that's the only thing contagious. Exactly. Yes. Okay. Here we go. So we've got our D minor. Then we've got our B flat. Reminder with that B flat, bring that elbow real tight in for that B flat so that you can angle that hand nicely. Yeah, that's perfect, Elisa. Nice, Kathleen. Yep, good. Yeah, actually what Ray's doing too can be helpful. You can push the head of your ukulele out, which will also give you that same nice angle. So keep the body, but you can see I'm pointing that headstock out at y'all rather than having it flat on my body. Makes a difference on that B flat. The G minor. A7. And those are our chords. Okay, let's try this. Starting with the D minor. 1, 2, 3. Ya ya da 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 da. B flat ya da 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 da. G minor A7. D minor again. D minor B flat. G minor A7. D minor. Let's do it a couple times. D minor B flat. G minor A7. D minor. One more time. D minor B flat. G minor A7. D minor. Okay, let's go on. F. F and G and B flat and C. F and G and A7. Bottom line. B flat and C and F and G. B flat and C and D minor. From the top. D minor B flat. G minor A7. D minor again. D minor B flat. G minor A7. D minor. Go on. F and G and B flat and C. F and G and A7. And B flat and C. And F and G. B flat, C. D minor. From the top. D minor B flat. G minor A7. D minor again. D minor B flat. G minor A7. D minor. Go on. F and G. B flat and C. F, G, A7. B flat and C and F and G. B flat, C, D minor. Last time. Ya da ya da 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 da. B flat ya da 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 da. G minor A7. D minor again. D minor B flat. G minor A7. D minor. And the thing I'm doing, if you hear it, da 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 da, is I'm just lifting up that ring finger and turning it into an F. I'm going back and forth. Okay, how did that feel? Thumbs. Where are we at?
It's getting better.
Okay, it's optimistic. I like that, Ray.
One thing I wonder, Rabbi Daniel, is if we sang the words, which will make it a little harder. You know what I mean? We all tried singing the words together while we're playing. That might be good for us.
Definitely makes it harder when you sing the words. And that's partly why we are meeting at 6 o'clock to get ready for the 6:30 Havdalah too, is we will go through this and sing all of the words. Don't be too nervous because one of the beauties of a big band of ukuleles is if you mess up, it all kind of blends in together anyways, as we heard at Amy's. Okay, we're almost out of time, so let's do these other two songs for Havdalah. picture. Okay, so Eliyahu Hanavi. Here we go. This one's actually easier. The other two songs we play in Havdalah are easier than the first song. So starting on the D minor. 2, 3, 4. Eli D minor, A7 D minor, D minor, Hatish F, Eli F, who, Eli C, who, Eli B flat, A7 D minor. Let's try that progression right there for a second. B flat, A7 D minor. Let's do that a few times. B flat, A7, D minor. So once you get into that B flat, the way you're going to move to the A7 is just that index finger is going to move up a string, and it's right there waiting for you. Right? You're just going to sort of push it up, and you're there. A7, D minor. One more time. B flat, A7, D minor from the top. 2, 3. Eliyahu, A7, D minor, Eliyahu, Hatish F, Eli F, who, Eli C, who, Eli B flat, A7, D minor. Here comes the G minor. G minor, Beyamenu. Ya A7, oh sorry, Ya D minor, A7 D minor, Imo G minor Ben David, Imo A7 Ben David. Let's try those bottom two lines again. 2, 3, in the G minor. Beam Hey G minor, Beyamenu, Ya D minor, A7 D minor, Imo G minor Ben David, Imo A7 Ben David minor from the top. Eli D minor, A7 D minor, Eli D minor, Hatish F, Eli F, who, Eli C, who, Eli B flat, A7 D minor. And ironically, our third song is that we play in this order is the easiest of them, Shavuatov. Goes like this: 2, 3. Shavuatov, 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 Shasi Atov, Shasi Atov, Shasi Atov, Shavuatov, Shadi minor, in F week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and C increase. A C week, a week of peace, may gladness reign, D minor increase from the top. Shavuatov F, Shavuatov, Shavuatov, here comes C, Shavuatov, stay on C, Shavuatov, 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 D minor, now F, F week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and C increase. A C week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and D minor increase. Okay. There you go. That was a lot of warm up, a lot of chords, a lot of getting ready for this coming Saturday. So we will do our Havdalah. We will do the two songs we've been working on. We will play all sorts of jam songs, and then starting next week. When is Christmas? Is that next week?
Yeah, I think it's next Saturday.
Oh, great. So it's not in the middle. It shouldn't be an issue with ukulele. Or is the 22nd going to be bad for anyone?
I'm not gonna be here, but I'll miss you guys.
We'll miss you. Okay, so then we will have class the next 2 weeks. And we'll start new songs. Have a nice one, everyone. Good to see y'all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.